This is North Carolina running back Omarion Hampton.
And he's built like a true Roman statue out there. And I think he's ready to be a bell cow as a rookie in the NFL. He has power and burst as a ball carrier. He's solid receiver despite being 6 foot, 221 pounds. In his junior year last year, Hampton put up 95th percentile total yards per game amongst drafted running backs since 2005. To me, this is a player that kind of fits the build of somebody that's going to go early round 2.
UNC ran so much inside zone and duo that they gave us plenty of between the tackle runs. And I actually think he saw a disproportional amount of runs when it's him one-on-one versus a linebacker or one-on-one versus a safety. And those are the most fun plays when you're watching these running backs. And I thought he was really unconventional on contact. And I mean that in a fun way, in an intriguing way, because this is going to be an odd descriptor, but he squirms on final contact. Like he's going to twist or spin or get skinny or fall forward or try to hurdle someone to take these unconventional hits, but yet it leads us to extra yards and hidden yards on the end. And again, when you watch his tape, that's the first thing that pops off the screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my notes, I said that he had freaky contact balance, and because his legs are just like so strong, like you can like just see it in his pads. You can tell that he's a big workout warrior. So I saw some of those glimpses of the contact balance there. To me, his standout trait by far is just his burst at that size. There's countless runs that I saw on tape. 93rd percentile broad jump at the NFL Combine, like you said, in the zone scheme. You get one cut, and all of a sudden it's just one-on-one. And you can really see him either run by somebody or kind of shed off of them. He kind of does this like little jump over defenders in open space too. So he's not like super elusive, but he just kind of moves in a weird way. And to me, it's that burst at that size of what makes him stand out.
Yeah, let's talk about that size and athleticism. Like you said, 6 foot, 221 pounds. He has 78th percentile athleticism, which includes a 4.46 40, 1.54 10-yard split, 94th and 82nd percentile jumps, and a 23rd percentile shuttle. He will turn 22, actually just did in March a few days ago. And if you look back at his stats at UNC, the last 2 years, at least 1,500 rushing yards, 15 touchdowns rushing on the ground for both of those, and then a cool 29 receptions and 38 receptions in each of the last 2 seasons. What'd you see from a passing game standpoint?
It's 89th percentile in the receiving yards per game. So we're talking about somebody that like at 221 pounds, you don't see that combination very much. I didn't think that there was anything super stand out with it. I just think that he's functional with it. His pass protection, same thing. Structurally fine. He has the mass to do it. I thought sometimes he misdiagnosed some blitzes. He didn't square up guys either. But I think that'll get ironed out in the pros. So I think that he's a capable bell cow guy. Is he going to be lighting things up in option routes and all that type of stuff? He can do it in a pinch, but I think that he's more of a guy that's downhill explosive rusher at that size that can play, that can stay on the field in passing situations.
Yeah, swings, screens, shovel passes. He only saw one target of 5+ yards down the field this past season. So a lot of his damage was either as checkdowns and like a catch and release type player or out in the flats. He did have 6 5+ yard targets the year before that when he was, attached to Drake May. That helps a little bit. 94 pass per reps, according to PFF this past season. I thought he was active. I thought he would work to the backside on those. I thought he would have, a nice little punch over the middle of the field too. Definitely someone you can keep in the fold when it comes to passing down sets, which can be tough to find for someone that is 221 pounds. Anything you want to add there?
Yeah, I just think that the hardest part for me is just like, are you able to diagnose the blitz? Like that's
Right.
what absolutely lights up your quarterback. And I thought that he was hit and miss with that, but he's 221 pounds. So like, there's no reason why this should not be a strength of his eventually.
All right, some cool stats for the people out there. By the way, if you're enjoying this, if you're new around here, hit that subscribe button. We have profiles for all of these draft prospects hitting your feed right now. He only averaged 1.5 yards before contact per attempt. That equals 99th in this class. That means 74% of his yards came after contact. And again, if we're looking for workhorse backs with 200+ carries in this group, that ranks the 3rd highest percentage. That speaks to how he was hit closer to the line of scrimmage, and was still able to create yards. And to me, Hayden, that's going to be hugely beneficial when we talk about his ability near the low red zone. Like, I think he's going to be very, very useful immediately, no matter what round he's drafted in, if he goes into a grouping or as an individual back at the next level, because the hidden yards and, again, that squirming on final contact to kind of fall forward for that extra stuff is going to allow him to generate this final like 1 to 2 extra yards in order to find the end zone. And again, that's going to be hugely beneficial for whatever team lands him.
I will say his transition to the NFL, the way that this can get a little bit weird early on is lots of RPOs, lots of zone read in that offense. He only had 31 carries under center in college. So that's going to be something that he's going to have to get used to in the NFL. And I think that his vision, if there was going to be like a little bit of a weakness, I thought he would get a little bit jumpy at times, like you said,
Mm,
with the short shuttle. He's not like so agile, like make you miss like behind the line of scrimmage, where I think that kind of combination could get him trouble in sometimes in the short yardage situations. But I do think like that's something because he is a younger early declare guy that this should be something that with more experience under center and getting downhill, and maybe he finds a scheme where it's a less of the zone stuff and you can just get right
yeah.
upfield. I think that probably will end up making this weakness not that big of a deal.
Yeah, my negatives list wasn't that long. It included something you just talked about. I don't think he hit cutback lanes very often. It was always going forward, consistently staying on the front side and rarely working back against the grain. And then, as much as we love the eye popping stuff to finish runs, aesthetically, there aren't many finishers like him in the NFL. It's peculiar to watch when going back
Hmm.
and looking at the college game because he sets himself up for those big hits. You'll see the textbook guys, the Cam Scadaboos, for example, who always stay square, he does not care about doing that. So he's going to take some gnarly contact, some gnarly hits in the NFL. But again, that's entertaining. That's fun
Hmm.
for all of us.
Yeah, some of the comps that I was looking at, just based off of like where they're going to go in the draft, height, weight, speed, all that type of stuff. Joe Mixon and Melvin Gordon are kind of like bigger
Okay.
guys. Brees Hall, I think, is stylistically somewhat different than Omarion Hampton because Brees Hall was such an excellent pass catcher. I'm not sure if I see that with Hampton, but in terms of the explosiveness for a guy that big, I do think that stands out. He's to me the second best running back in the class, early second round grade. The model really likes him, 92nd percentile production, all that stuff, the size, speed, it's all right there. I'm just looking for like the what makes him a all pro back. Maybe he's just freaky enough in terms of the size and the speed to get there, but there's a couple things that he needs to work on. I think that the Joe Mixon type of tier, where probably a second tier running back in the NFL, that's kind of the way I'm looking at him.
I always like to look at comparisons on a spectrum of a player, and I couldn't get for the high in comparison the aesthetic body lean style of DeMarco Murray out
Yeah.
of my head when
Yeah.
watching Omarion Hampton. And the middle range was Ryan Matthews, and the lowest was probably someone like TJ Yeldon, who kind of
Yeah.
moved in this way. And I
Hmm.
really like TJ Yeldon coming out of Alabama. It just never worked. Now, the funny thing about that is the first two names, DeMarco Murray, Ryan Matthews, were both under Chip Kelly during his final year with the
Whoa.
Philadelphia Eagles. That team and the Las Vegas Raiders certainly need a running back added to their list. So maybe he has a type. But man, just aesthetically, again, the DeMarco Murray stylings, and
Hmm.
we had some really productive DeMarco Murray years.
Yes, we
I
did.
couldn't get that in my head when watching Hampton.
If you just look at them like in their pads, like you definitely see the really cut build that Demarco had. That's for sure.
Yeah, just a couple of stats to close this out. Over the last two seasons, 24 touches per game, over 150 yards per contest. About 16% of his runs went for 10 plus yards. Then that dropped down to 15 plus yards, 9.3, and then 20 plus yards, which everyone's looking for explosives, 5.3. And just one fumble this season, and it was as a pass catcher. So
We only
not
get
even
so
as
many
a running
first round
back.
running backs nowadays. Do you think that if he snuck in there, that would be justifiable?
Oh,
I'm right.
man, you're
I'm
asking
right
the
below
tough
that.
questions to close this.
Right below it.
Look, I think this class might be different. And if a team is looking to make an impact on the field, I could see him going in the mid to late 20s in like a trade back into round one in order to land this type
Hmm.
of player. But if that's the case, you probably need him to be your primary rusher, and he can obviously do that. Uh,
Hmm.
I just think he'll score a lot of touchdowns for his team again because of his ability to create the 1 to 2 to 3 hidden yards on final contact.
All righty. I like it.
That does it for us. Again, if you're new around here, hit that subscribe button. We have plenty of prospect profiles on the channel. So browse around, click on the next one, and we'll see you there.